Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to your Lunch and Learn Hour. I'm Paulette. I'm a part of Brownstone Worldwide. You're in the Cityscape Radio Studios, and we have a special guest with us here today that's going to be telling us all about brand strategy. Now, for those of you all who are not familiar with that word, it's something that we're going to be learning today, and we're going to find out exactly how she did it. We've got an amazing guest with us that's been doing her thing for a minute, and we're so excited to have Dr. Sade Adu here with us today, hanging out with us in the Brownstone studios, giving us all of the tea on how she handled her business and became who she is today as a branding strategist for so many people. So before we bring her on, let's talk about who she is as Dr. Sade. Why I do. Let's talk about that. She's a digital brand strategist, best-selling author, and an international speaker. Dr. Adu is an award-winning strategist, best-selling author, and international speaker who's got a passion for people and a love for helping others succeed in life. She's been driven by the desire to support women entrepreneurs and facilitate the creation of generational wealth. Dr. Sade is truly committed to offering a comprehensive range of services, which is oriented towards achieving the 3 I's: income, influence, and impact. Whether working with a company or a brand, she will stop at nothing short of ensuring desired outcomes. Dr. Sade has had the pleasure of being featured in Hello Beautiful, Black Enterprise, The Network Journal, and The Rachel Ray Show. She's also spoken at and facilitated numerous workshops in Kazakhstan and, of course, Ghana, as well as in universities, high schools, and institutions throughout the United States. And in addition to being a full-time entrepreneur, Dr. Sade received her PhD in curriculum and instruction from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She attributes her success to great mentoring and spiritual favor, paying it forward with the goal of inspiring positive change in the world and around her. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I'm excited to bring to you Dr. Sade Adu. How are you?
Welcome. Hello. How is everyone doing today?
I'm so happy that you're here. Finally, let's talk about that. We've been trying to get you on here for a minute, but you're always busy. You're always doing your thing. You got all of these things going on. First of all, shout out to Wisconsin, my home state. Big ups for going to UW-Madison. I went to UW-Milwaukee. So we've got the UWs in kind. So let's jump right into it, because we're going to be talking for a minute. And one of the things that I definitely want to make sure that we cover is how in the world did you go from traveling the world to getting your PhD in Wisconsin, of all places, and then deciding I'm going to help women entrepreneurs? What happened?
So I started my business 9 years ago. I was actually living in the Republic of Kazakhstan. I was living in Central Asia.
Wow.
And I was an international teacher. Okay. And that's a story within itself. How did I get to Kazakhstan?
Okay.
And people usually ask that story. How did you get there?
Yeah.
I took a leap of faith to leave everything I knew and everyone I loved to move 5,483 miles away to the Republic of Kazakhstan. And sometimes I was the first person of color, Black person that they had ever seen. And for some of the older people in some of the remote villages, I was probably the last. And I had to make a decision that couldn't be the reality forever.
Wow.
So I was committed to making positive change and making sure that I was a good example of Black people, because I was literally the representative of Black folks.
I see.
I had this opportunity. Prior to moving to Kazakhstan, I lived in Philadelphia. I went to graduate school at the University of Pennsylvania. They were developing schools in the Republic of Kazakhstan. There was a hiring freeze in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. They were not hiring teachers. My background's in social studies. I was not essential. They didn't need me there.
Wow.
But that opened up an opportunity for me to become an international educator. So a couple of months after I graduated with my master's degree in education, I relocated to Kazakhstan. It was supposed to be 1 year, turned into two turned into 3. And after 3 years of living 5,000 miles away from
Wow.
everyone you've loved, spending my early to mid 20s in Kazakhstan, I just wanted to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was unfulfilled. I
Okay.
was doing well. I paid off like $20,000 to $30,000 worth of student loans.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing extremely well. My credit was amazing, but I knew that there was more.
Okay.
You might be like, I'm at the top of I was goals. I was traveling to 30 different countries. I was hobnobbing with diplomats and people who worked in foreign services. I was living a phenomenal, I could buy whatever I want.
I can tell. Look at you.
I mean, clothes custom made. I was living a good life overseas. But God was telling me that there was more. They was like, oh, Shanae, that's cute, but there's more for you in your life. And I did not know what that more was. But on the the first day of the third year of school, my supervisor came to me and said, are you coming back tomorrow? And I said to him, I don't know. And I said, and this wasn't a job I could just say, I'm quitting today. I live 5,000 miles away. I had to
right.
So I knew that my plan required provision. So for that school year, I just started learning. I was looking on the internet and I just started saving money because I knew that I was going to do something next and it was going to require money. I didn't know what it was. And a month before I resigned from my international teaching job, I started my business online. And all I wanted to do was just inspire people. I started off as a life coach. I wanted to inspire them to live their best life, inspire them to have confidence and dream a bigger dream. But I didn't know that wasn't going to make money. So I had to regroup, invest in mentorship and coaching, and learn I fell in love with internet marketing. And I started this business online. And I eventually transitioned into brand strategy because everyone that I was life coaching said they wanted help with their lives, but they kept saying, how did you build this brand? How did you build this brand? And eventually I listened to them because that was the thing they actually wanted to pay me for. So I transitioned into talking more about social media marketing and digital brand strategy, because as I was building this life coaching business, I was also building a brand and people wanted to know how I was doing that.
I see. So I heard you say this more than once in your conversation. You said, I heard from God. So let's talk about that, because I hear people saying, I'm looking for a sign. I'm looking for a sign. I don't know what to do next in my business. What were the signs? Was it an audible voice, or were you just like, all right?
So prior to living in Kazakhstan, I was in school. I got my undergraduate degree from Morgan State University in Baltimore. Then I moved to Philadelphia. I was just consistently busy. Like you say, my life is busy now.
Yes.
There's always been elements of busy.
Yeah.
But in the time of living in Kazakhstan, especially in year 2 and 3, I moved to a more remote village. It was quieter. I couldn't basically watch TV. Even Dora the Explorer was in Russian. And it was hard to understand. There was like one channel in English. Netflix was blocked. So I had a lot of free time. And we had a Bible study. We had a local Bible study with the teachers who were Christian. And I just had some time with God. Like, what do you want me to do next? Because I'm not supposed to stay here forever. And I'm very clear. If I would have stayed in Kazakhstan for 10 years, if I would have did overseas for a decade, I would have been a millionaire by now. I would have had way more money.
Really?
I'd have been living large. They would have offered me so much more if I would have stayed, because I have other people that did stay. And I know the trajectory of what they're making.
Nice.
So I would have been well off if I would have stayed. But when you have a call and you have that, they call it the Jonah moment. If you don't listen, you're going to be caught in that well.
Come on.
So in addition to that year of trying to figure out where my life was going to go, I also am a Bill and Melinda Gates scholar. I had a 3-year sabbatical. I could take 3 years off from school before I would lose over $100,000 in academic funding.
Holy cow.
So I had to make some decisions.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I stayed in Kazakhstan for year number 3, I was going to have to go back to school right after that, or I was going to lose my funding. So I said, okay, I'm going to apply to graduate school. At the time, I got into no schools. Now I shoot for the stars. I got denied from Harvard. I think it was like NYU, even Penn for graduate school did not accept me for my PhD. So I was feeling extremely defeated. And I was like, forget it. I'm not getting to school. I'm about to lose this money. Let me just move to Kenya. So I applied to a job in Kenya. Then I was like, let me apply to this other job. I was just going to run away because I didn't want to face that I was becoming a failure. I looked successful, but I was becoming a failure because I couldn't get into graduate school.
Yeah.
And then something said, call Wisconsin. And some phone calls was made. And a week later, I was in Wisconsin. That's how that happened. That's the short answer. They were missing. I never checked in on my application. They were missing a recommendation from me. My application was completed, but one of my professors never submitted my application. So my mentor, I called her while I was in Kazakhstan, and I said, listen, they said, if you send this in, they will slide my application in. And like about a week or so later, I had my acceptance letter. And after that, I got subsequent acceptances from other universities. But I knew that I needed to go to Wisconsin. And one of my teachers, fellow peers, colleagues, actually went to school in Wisconsin. He was like, you need to apply to Wisconsin. So Wisconsin happened because I went to Kazakhstan. So that's another thing I don't share a lie. How did I get there? Because somebody in Kazakhstan said, you should go to Wisconsin. And I was crazy enough to listen to him. So
I love it.
That's how I ended up there. I started my business, and 2 months later, I moved to Wisconsin. So I had an international relocation, and then I had a regional relocation to Wisconsin. I had never been there prior to, literally, I had not been there prior to being accepted. I didn't go to like visit the school day because I was overseas. I literally just went there on a whim based on some recommendations from some people who had experiences there. So definitely was taking a leap of faith.
And so that is what you would say is your I heard from God moment, because you were doing all this running, and ultimately it came down to a connection that you had already had in Kazakhstan that said you need to go to Wisconsin, and then you heard call Wisconsin, and that was it. And then boom, you end up in Wisconsin. Oh my. And you did your doctoral program there. And now you are Dr. Sade Adu.
Yeah.
Now, what does Sade do with herself now that she's been hooded? And what's next? Like, do you get another doctorate? What do you do? Like, are you getting as many invites to go to another doctoral program? What's happening?
Another one. I don't want to go back to school now. The only time I will go back is if Harvard accepts me. They have like a 3-week MBA program. If Harvard accepts me, I will go. Other than that, the answer is 9 out of 10 times no. Okay. I spent 5 years living in Wisconsin. It took me 7.5 years to get my PhD. I am still in recovery mode. And then on top of enduring a pandemic and finishing during a global pandemic, we are still in PhD recovery mode. So this part of my life, semi post-pandemic and post-doctorate, is I spent a lot of time enjoying it. The value, re-understood the value of friendship and family. We lost so much connection during COVID that I wanted to spend more time with my family. I wanted to just celebrate and be in their presence. I wanted to spend more time with friends because over 7 years of me traveling and building a business, I neglected a lot of friendships. And COVID gave me the opportunity. It slowed me down. Kazakhstan slowed me down. COVID slowed me down to realize what was truly important. Those moments, those minutes, those memories and connections that we create together was just so much more valuable for me than always being like, oh, you got to be at this business event. Oh, you got to do this thing because your business or your brand needs you to do this. What about my friends that knew me before all this stuff? What about my family members? What about their birthdays and holidays and special celebrations? So for me in this season post school, it was important to prioritize family and friendships. And I'll add another piece in there because I'm a single lady. Also put some time in there to date too. Dating is important.
Yeah.
You got to, that was another piece. We lost connection and we lost connection and also in the relationship standpoint as well. So prioritizing dating and making it important in my life was also another piece of this as well.
I love it. And so you came out of that and you're still in recovery. You sound like me. I tell people all the time, I have a friend who is actually in his final year of his doctoral program. And I said, whenever he mentions that he's in that final two classes and he starts talking about it, I just have to sit back and breathe, because I have a flashback to that last year when I didn't think I was going to make it, and I had two classes, and it anyway, enough of that. So I feel you. I understand. That was my point in understanding what your brain feels like. You know, this is your brain on your doctoral program. People don't understand unless, of course, they've been through it. Now, here's the question that I have for you. After you've left and you've said, I'm not going to do research, I'm not going to go into my field with what I've studied and what I've graduated with. It sounds great on the front of my name. It sounds great when I put it on resumes. But first of all, I'm actually worth more than that. And I already know it because I'm already building my business. What made you decide, outside of the fact that people were telling you, hey, this is what you need to pay me for? What made you decide that you were going to go all in the way that you have? Because let me stop, ladies and gentlemen, what you all don't understand about her, whenever you see your lives, whenever I've seen you on stage, I've seen you in person, I've seen you with the backpack and the lights and all the things, you do not do mediocre at all. And that means that you're always on 10. Like, one, where do you get the energy for that? And two, is that something that you impart onto your clients? And where do your clients come from? How do they find you? Like, I got all kind of questions.
So energy, vitamins. I'm high off life. That's, okay. Listen, I'm blessed. I'm highly favored. God is good. I got breath in my body. So I'm just naturally happy. I used to live in Kazakhstan, people. Listen, sometimes there was months we didn't have water coming out of the faucets and we just had to figure it out. So listen, I live by the secret police. I was in the former Soviet Union. Life is good.
Yes, okay.
So I just put things into perspective. Like, life could be worse. We just came out of a pandemic where millions of people died and we are still here. What do I have to be upset about now? I just find joy in life. Small things make me happy. There's a book by Oprah, Things I Know for Sure.
Yes.
And one thing she writes in the book is she's about this gratitude, about just being grateful. And one of the things she's grateful for is water pressure. The fact that water comes out of the faucets when I'm taking a shower. Because there was times in Kazakhstan where we didn't have no water pressure.
Okay.
So I just think about the basics. Like, I can turn on a faucet and water will come out to wash my body. I'm blessed.
Amen.
So I find ways to be gracious and grateful, even in the midst of pain, turbulence, and trauma and stress. I still find those things. And I know what it's like to be depressed. So, I'm going to say this. I've been saying this recently on a lot of different interviews. I believe in therapy.
Yes.
Working on a business and being a doctoral student was the hardest things that I could do. They're hard by themselves, but to do them at the same time is insane. When you only have 1 to 2% success rate with both. And I decided as a Black woman in America to do both at the same time. Not my brightest idea. So you go through turbulence and stress and depression and weight gain. When I was in Kazakhstan, I was exercising 3 times a day. I rode a bike to school. I had a personal trainer, a Russian personal trainer. I was working out every day. School, life, Rona.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. So I became depressed. And I also, while I was in school and been in business, I ended a long-term relationship that I thought would end in marriage. And I was depressed. I'm like looking around like, wait a minute, this is not the life that I thought I would have for myself. I didn't think I would be single at this particular age. And it caught up with me. And then COVID caught up with me. And I needed help. So navigating life in this on this side of 35, it's important to have other tools so that I can cope and live the best life, because I like to be happy. And when I'm not happy, it affects my money, because my accountant is going to call me and say, you need to get yourself together. And if I need time to take a break, I know, I understand that needs to be funded. We have a team. People depend on me. So I can't be down for long. So I need to have tools that allow me to be happy and successful so that I can operate at my high and be my highest level self. So therapy was a crucial piece of that. Understanding that I am my best investment and I got to work on me every single day. I'm not perfect. Nothing I do is perfect, but I work on myself every day and those vitamins. And as a matter of fact, I need more vitamins right now.
You know what?
Water. Listen, I'm trying to get my gallons in.
That's it. Cheers. Yeah.
I want to be healthier. I want to live a long life. Yeah. And when I'm living this long life, I want to be healthy and do it. Yeah. So those are just some priorities and things that are important to me that keep me going, because I understand if we're going to be stewards of money and we're going to have millions and whatever God wants to give me, I need to be able to enjoy it. I need to have the wherewithal to know what to do with it, to multiply it so that it lasts generations. And that's going to require me to be the best version of me.
Come on. Yes. Look, the doors of the church are officially open because Dr. Sade has given us the formula. Okay. But listen, I need to know. We inquiring minds would like to know, as a branding strategist, what is it that you do? So like you go live, and you go live often, right? So shout out to you for doing that. You're consistent, and you're consistent on social media, and we see you everywhere. But what exactly does a client look for when they're working with you? How do they get to the point where they're like, oh, I need to work with her right now? What do they need to do?
Great question. So my love is brand strategy. And this actually started as a child. I used to work my side job. There was a post on Facebook that said, what was your mall job? I never had a mall job. My side job was working presidential, gubernatorial, and municipal elections. I used to get paid to campaign, canvass, and register people to vote. And work election polls. And I did that before I was eligible to vote. So under 18, that was my side job. That's what we did in Irvington, New Jersey. What I learned from politicians. So I met presidents, I've met governors, I've met all these political people as a kid. I watched them. They were marketers. If you want to win an election, you got to know how to be a marketer. If you want to win an election, you have to know how to build a brand. But at the time, we called it reputation. They had a reputation. And I learned so much from them as a kid. I didn't realize it. One of my mentors was in politics. And when I went into this new part of my life about building a brand, it's still about reputation management. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? That's from Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
What do people think about you? How do people believe do people believe what you are saying? Yeah. Do you believe it?
Come on.
And now we have tools that we didn't have when I was below 18 that allow us to share our message with the masses and share our message with the world. So putting strategies together was the same thing as me watching people put campaign slogans together or put campaign messaging together. It was the same skill set, but now we're putting it together and monetizing it. Instead of trying to win an election, we're trying to win the hearts and minds of buyers to purchase our programs, products, and services. So the skills were transferable. And I realized that was a skill that paid the bills. So
I love it.
I needed to learn, I wasn't getting it. Kazakhstan no more, okay?
Right.
I had oil. Them checks always cashed. But I wasn't getting them anymore. So I had to find skills that I already had that were innate to me that were monetizable. So I knew how to put websites together. I knew how to put flyers together. It was just something I did on the side as a kid. I knew how to put things together. And I didn't understand that was a skill that was valuable in this particular marketplace.
I see.
And I had been practicing public speaking as a kid. All of these different trades. This is stuff we did for fun in Irvington, New Jersey as a child that I did not realize 20 years later would be valuable skills that I could monetize and help other people monetize as well.
I love that. And see, here's the thing that I'm hearing you say, you don't even realize you're saying it, is innately that's who you've always been. You've just come into your own and you've come into yourself, and it looks like you're not done expanding either.
This is the beginning. We're just getting into it.
Look, she's like, yes.
Can I say this to anybody who's watching, whatever age you are? It took so long for me to accept who I was. I was living in a shadow. I was like a fraction in a fraction of myself. I didn't think I was enough. I thought I had to be somebody else. I thought that this was too much. And this year, 2023, was the year I said, forget this. We're just going in on being me. Period. And I had to be okay with it. And I had to be okay with the consequences of being myself. Because sometimes we are afraid to be us because we've been shunned. We've been told we're too loud, too big, too small, too thin, too light, too dark, too something. We're too much.
Yep.
And in this marketplace and in this season, we are called to be exactly who we are. We can't be nobody else but ourselves. So that evolution, we're still in that process of evolution, but I'll say there has been a massive transformation in the last 6 months because I just was like, forget it. I'm over it. It's time to just be me.
It's time to just be you. And there are so many people that need to hear that, especially when we're talking about building a business, growing a business, sustaining one. And that image, right, that comes with branding and what you're saying in terms of reputation and the politicians and so forth. And so when we're talking about building out a brand, are you saying to people like me, hypothetically, just be yourself? Just be yourself.
That's the core. So the first thing there's a couple of things. Okay. So I call like branding your greatness is part of our framework. And greatness is the mix of your purpose, your passion, and your profits. Your purpose, so your passion is the car. I say I use the analogy of a vehicle. It's whatever car you want to drive. You got the passion, whatever one you love and you like. The purpose is the steering wheel because it's going to teach you and tell you what direction you're going to go. Yeah. But let me tell you something. The profits is the fuel and the gas. That car is not going anywhere. I don't care if it's a Maserati, a Hoopty, a Beetle. It's not going anywhere if there's no gas. So in order to really fuel your purpose and your passion, you have to make profits. So that's our framework for greatness. So when I'm talking to people, I'm a strategist. I love solving problems. The name of my company is Savvy Solutions because I get tired of people trying to have problems. Like, let's solve them. So that's the core of my business model and who I am. So I'm identifying what problems do you solve in the marketplace as a strategist with anyone? What problems do you solve in the marketplace? And what problems are people willing to pay you for? Because that's the other nugget.
Come on.
The problems you want to solve, the things you want to help the world do, you might want to end world hunger. But maybe people want to pay you to do that. So what can people pay you for so that you can also still be philanthropic? And that's a lot of people in ministry. They just want to be, I want to serve. I want to help the people. We can serve and help the people more when we are more profitable. So what do people want to pay you for? Who are those people? And how can we get in front of those people strategically? Those are like the top 3 things that I really focus on. And then we say, who are you? While being you. Be you. Find your people. Find what you're going to sell to them and find the vehicle of how you're going to get in front of them and how you're going to market to them so that you can get paid.
I like that. And that's what you help people do every day.
Yep. We get
I love that.
Clear about who they are, and then we build based on that.
That's good. That's really good. And what I'm hearing you say is if you're a business, isn't this something that you need anyway?
Brand strategy. So some people will say they have different opinions. My colleagues have different ideas about that. Some people will say that branding, like if you're building a brand, and a lot of people equate branding just to the visual aspects of a brand, your colors and your logo and your website. Right. It's so much bigger than that. That is a piece of visual branding. When I'm specifically working with people, I'm talking about the strategy and I like efficiency. So what's going to be the fastest way for us to create something for you that's going to get the result the fastest?
Right.
I'm looking for the fastest pathway because I understand that time is short. We don't have time and funds are limited. Our resources are not finite. So our finite. They have a limit. They have it. They're not infinite.
Yeah.
We have to be strategic and resourceful. I got a degree and they claim that I can teach economics. That's what they said. I'm certified to teach economics. And economics teaches you about risk and resources. These things, risk, I knew I was ready to become an entrepreneur because I was willing to take risks. That's how I knew. Before I was like, nah, that risk thing, I don't like that. I like comfort. I like to expect things. Yes. And I was willing to take a risk. I knew it was time for me to become an entrepreneur. The other piece is about resources. We have a finite finite amount of resources. So we have to be smart with how we leverage our human capital, how we leverage our physical resources, our intellectual resources, and money, financial resources. So it just makes sense. Like if there's something in the marketplace right now, use COVID as an example. If you know you are a seamstress and you made masks, those seamstresses make hundreds of thousands of dollars using fabric that they already had to make
that
masks.
part. Come on.
They solved a problem that we needed. Now, if they start making masks right now, they might not make as much.
Right.
But when it was the time to solve that specific problem, they became extremely crucial and helpful. So sometimes you got to strike really when the iron is hot. You got to strike when there's gold, because these times and moments don't last forever. And that's my biggest mistake, thinking that this is going to last forever. And, thinking that this moment and this season and this opportunity is going to last forever. And then when we don't take the chance or shoot our shot, the opportunity passes us by. I've missed over millions for various reasons, and I am very clear of that. But I also understand that those opportunities will come back to me, and when they come back to me, I'm ready.
Yeah, gotcha. She said, "I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm not playing no more."
Yeah, you're not playing no more, and I appreciate that in you, because these are the stories that our audience needs to hear. Is that and I'm hearing you say so many different things, and you don't realize that you're saying them. I'm a single woman. I'm a Black woman. I was the only Black woman in Kazakhstan at the time. So I was representing. So I had to be on my P's and Q's while I was over there. Then I decided to come back and get my doctorate, my PhD, because if not, I was going to lose my grant, my money from the Gates Foundation. I decided to continue to stand on that excellence, because all along the way, your story has been consistent. The experiences were the only things that changed. The only thing that changed. And you have grown more into who you've always been. Isn't that amazing? Like, listening to your who has this desire to be in business, you're probably already operating in it, because it sounds like that's what you did, because your story is very synonymous and very close to mine. Like, this is what I did as a kid. My family had a business. That's what we did. We had to figure out ways how to generate the money. We had a trucking company, and that's what we did. And we had to figure it out. And if we weren't figuring it out, my mother was not giving me money, nor my dad was giving me money. We had to earn it. So we got real creative. And so every step of every moment of your life has prepared you for where you are. And that's what I'm hearing. And the beauty of it is, Dr. Sade, is you've heeded the call all along the way as you've developed into the next version of yourself. That is amazing, because most of us run.
I wanted to. I tried.
That's awesome that you stuck it out. Because see, think about it. Like you said, I like pretty things. I like bills to be paid on time. I like all of the things. Right?
Zero balances on credit cards. I like a softer life.
Right. You want the soft life. And it's hard to do when you are an entrepreneur. So guys, what I'm telling you as we begin to wrap up here is that ultimately at the end of the day, you are always working on being a better version of yourself. And every lesson along the way, every experience that you have had is taking you where you're supposed to be. You just have to pay attention to when God is talking to you. That is a lesson that you just told us today. Is that too deep?
Ooh, I'm enjoying this interview. I'm enjoying it. I'm receiving it.
You're receiving it. Amen. Okay. Well, that's what you told me. And that's beautiful. So that's a good thing. And so there is a next, and there is a next. But for now, here's the question that I always ask every single guest. One, since we've talked about your entrepreneurial journey, what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship?
The good of entrepreneurship is that you're able to help people. Like, we're able to solve people's problems every day and make a difference. And when people send messages to me, about it. And even sometimes their children will say, well, she looks like me and she's wearing the hot pink. And I've heard kids say, hey, Barbie. Like they see representation, and representation matters so much. So that part warms my heart and makes me excited. The good, the bad. Bills, man, entrepreneurship can be expensive. Investing in yourself, the level of risk, the amount of stress that we are under, legal implications. Like that's probably under ugly, but it's just like there's some level of stress sometimes. And I just be like, man, what am I thinking? Like,
I know.
Why did I do this? And I know many of us every day we contemplate, like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, this doesn't make sense. We could go get a job. Like, why? The ugly of entrepreneurship is you have to make difficult decisions every day. And difficult decisions mean sometimes that you need to stop your business. Decisions means that your life is still lifing while you trying to run a business. Family, death, in full transparency. My brother passed away and my niece now lives with me, and we're still trying to get her into school. Not saying that's the ugly part, but that's also a beautiful part of entrepreneurship. You have the flexibility to do that.
That part, but
life still happens. And like our mutual mentor says, your business doesn't care.
Your business doesn't care at all.
You're depressed and you running out of money. Your business doesn't care.
Doesn't at all.
So
careless.
Your business does not have the capacity to. This is what my advisor used to say about Wisconsin. Your business, does not have the capacity to love you in the way you want to be loved.
Come on.
So you need to understand that. That's the ugly side.
Yeah.
But if you do what you need to do in business, if you do things, you can create systems and pathways for yourself to get the support that you need.
Yeah.
It is it's a pathway, but it does not have the capacity. It does not understand that you're tired and you forgot to send out an email. It does not understand that your client didn't pay you, so you can't pay your invoice for something else. Your business doesn't understand none of that. But if we do what we need to do, there are systems that you can put in place so that you can get that support, so that you can have some extra savings when something falls through. So it is a vehicle to get support, but it is not the supportive vehicle itself.
That part. Amen. Wow. This has been so good. I could sit here for another 20 minutes, but number one, the lunch and learn is 30 minutes because people got to eat lunch and get back to work. That's number one. And then number two, you got stuff to do. So with that, Dr. Sade, I want to thank you so much for taking time, for coming out and hanging out with us here at Cityscape, the Brownstone, and telling us your story and about how you have walked the walk the whole way. And the only thing that changed was your development in it. And that's a beautiful thing, that you have been obedient to that without even realizing it. I think you had an aha moment today.
Yeah.
And so this has been beautiful. You guys, let me tell you where you can find Dr. Sade in all of her glory. Listen, you can find her at SadeWhyIdo.com. SadeWhyIdo.com. You can go ahead and find her there. And do you have any final words for our audience today?
If you have been on the sidelines and you're thinking about starting your business, you're thinking about taking action, just go for it. Or we say in our tribe, just do it. Just do it. Just go for it.
Come on. I love that. I love it. I love it. You guys, this has been amazing. Once again, this is Dr. Sade Why-I-Do coming to hang out with us here in Cityscape in the Brownstone Worldwide Studios. We appreciate you guys for spending time with us this afternoon. We will see you on the next edition of the Lunch and Learn Hour. We'll see you around.